Hi there, and this is Tota Edward, a guitar teacher, with another video here in a series of conversations with parents of children who study guitar with me. And this series of videos is aimed at children in the intermediate age range and that's like from 11 to 13. This video is not really for children younger than 11, or the old ones are 14 and older, although they'll get some value out of it. This is primarily for intermediate aged children and their parents. And a parent question that I get regularly in quite different forms is this one here. How long will it take my child to learn a song on guitar? And how long will it take for them to make it sound good? Okay, so let's take that here and we'll look at how long will it take my child to learn a song on guitar. So we're talking about 11 to 13 year olds, and they're at the age where they're getting their iPods and they're singing their songs and starting to favorite videos and all these kinds of things, and they're hearing things from 13, 14, 15 year olds. And so the kinds of songs that they really like pop songs, and their standard length is a 32 bar length. Okay, so let's just not be quite so technical and just say these are songs that have got they're 32 bars long. They got usually got a verse, chorus and verse. Okay, and musicians talk about songs as being bars and sections. So you can see here I've got one set up here. So here's a section here of bars 1 to 8, that's usually a verse. Bars 9 to 16 is usually the second verse. Bars 7 to 14 and 24 is usually the chorus. And bar 25 to 32 is the verse again, verse 3. So I don't want to get hung up on all the different song forms that there are, but just to explain to you as a parent of a guitar child learning these songs, is that from a learning point of view, there are these sections, and they're divided up into bars. So when we're learning and teaching these things, we're thinking about them from this point of view. There are various other ways of thinking about it, like with phrases and so on, but let's limit, for the purpose of this discussion of figuring out how long will it take your child to learn a song, the bars is the most useful way of describing it. So the question is then, how does the 11 to 13 year old, how long will it take them to learn and memorize a 32 bar song? Okay, so there's a number of variables. The first one is, how big are the chunks of learning? So in this particular model, these are 1 bar phrases. Okay, so what we're saying here is that first of all they'll learn bar 1, then they'll learn bar 2, then they'll learn them both together. So there's 3 steps there. Then they do the same with bar 4, bar 5, and bar 4 and bar 5. Then they learn bar 2, recall bar 2s and 3 together, and then put together all those 4 bars. And you can see that that's taken them 8 steps. Okay, exactly the same process happens for bars 5 to 8. 5, 6, 5 and 6, 7, 8, 7, 8. Then we're going to join these together, so we're going to have 6 and 7. Then we're going to have 6 to 8. Then we join up bar 5 and 6. And then we have bars 1 to 8. So you can see there it's taken them 18 steps to learn 8 bars of music and 8 bars of information. Okay, exactly the same process happens with bars 9 to 16. So this same thing, and I'll show you in another view in a moment, exactly the same thing happens there. And exactly the same thing happens in bars 17 and 4. So let me repeat myself. Bars 9 to 16, exactly the same learning chunking process happens for this section as happened for that section. Then at the end they're all joined up together, and so that your child now knows bars 1 to 16 of a song. Then the same process happens for bars 17 to 24, bars 25 to 32, then put the whole lot together. Now your child knows the second half of the song. Then they learn bars 16 and 17, and then put all 32 bars together, and boom, they've got the song. Okay, so they've learned the song. That's the first part of the process. So if we go to this view, you'll see here this is a 50% view, and I hope we can see it. Okay, so if we scroll down here, you can see here that was 38 steps to learn the first half of the song. Then there are another 38 steps right here to learn the other half of the song. Then there are 2 more steps to put it all together to learn the whole song. And so what we have here is, if you're learning the song, if your child is learning the song one bar at a time, there are 78 steps that your child will go through to learn that song. 78. So I'll just write down that number so I can track that when I want it. So for 1 bar, that's 78 steps. Okay. Let's now look at what happens if they learn 2 bars at a time. So we get the same kind of process. They learn 2 bars, another 2 bars, join those together. Now they have 4 bars. So it's taken 4 steps to learn 4 bars of music. Then we find it's taken 10 steps when we repeat those 4 steps again. Then we add another 2 steps for joining up bars 4 and 5, and then they get the whole 8. So it's taken them 10 steps to learn 8 bars. Okay, and that's learning at 2 bars at a time. So those are 2 bar chunks. Then the same thing happens on the next 8 bars. Another 10 steps. Then we join up those 2 sections. There we learn the whole section off. So now it's taken 22 steps to learn 16 bars of music. Then there will be another 22 to learn the other 16, which are over here. I won't scroll right over. Then we join those 2 up, and then there's 46 steps to learn the whole song. And so that's learning 2 bars at a time. If we scroll to this view, we can see, hopefully we can see a bit better what's actually happening. So you can see the general shape here. There's 8 bars, there's bars 9 to 16, and then there's bars 1 to 16. So that's half the song. Then we scroll down, there's half the song again. Then join them all up, and there's the whole song. So at 2 bars at a time, learning a song 2 bars at a time, that's 46 steps that your child takes. 46 learning steps. Now let's see what happens if we look at 4 bars at a time. Okay, so hopefully this is all starting to look a bit familiar now. There's your first 4 bars, second 4 bars, learnt the joining bars, and there's bars 1 to 8. So now there's 4 steps to learn 8 bars. Okay. Then there's another 4 steps to learn the next 2 bars. Sorry, next 4 bars. 2 steps to learn bars 8 and 9, and then join them all up. There's bars 1 to 16. So there's 20 steps there, and 20 steps to learn the next 16 bars. Then we join up those 2, and now there's 22 steps there to learn the whole song. Okay, so that's 22 steps with learning chunks of 4 bars at a time, and here's the whole lot here and half the picture, so you can get a kind of graphical view of what's happening and how many steps to get from here to the whole song. And similarly, when we look at 2 bars at a time, how to get from here, whoops, the first 2 bars to the whole song, and same with 1 bar. Okay, so what you've just learned here are the number of steps required for your child to learn a song, 32 bar song. So if they're going to learn it 1 chunk at 1 bar at a time, there's 78 steps. If they learn 2 bars at a time, there are 46 steps. if they learn 4 bars at a time, there are 22 steps. And the likelihood, which one are they likely going to be using? Most likely step 1. Why? Because their songs that they like are most often rhythmically complicated, and they need to be chunked down more than songs that maybe you were brought up on. Okay, so there's a lot of steps there to learn the song. Now I just want to talk briefly about, we've talked about steps, okay, and if we focus on the 1 bar at a time, there are 78 steps there, but within each step there are a whole lot of little things that happen with each of these. So if we're looking at these 2 bars here, for example, there's 12 other steps involved about the stuff in those 2 bars. They've got to talk the 2 bars, they've got to write it, they've got to visualize, they've got to feel it, hear it, rest it. Then they've got to rehearse their right hand, rehearse their left hand, and rehearse both hands. Then they've got to prove it with both hands. Then they've got to rest. Then they've got to play both hands. Then they've got to rest. Then if they can move on to the next lot. So suddenly our 78 steps are multiplied by 13. Now we can start here seeing here what's involved at that detail level. Okay, so I just want to give you an idea of what the task starts looking like when we start breaking up those first steps we found into the smaller chunks, so your child can learn the stuff thoroughly and be able to play it authoritatively. Okay, so you can see this. The good news is, although there's lots of steps, it's basically the same steps over and over. The process is the same, the content is different. Okay, so what have we got here? I think it's about 565 steps. Okay, which all sounds like a lot, but bear in mind that these are the same steps that pros usually using when they're learning songs quickly. So now we know how many steps involved, we can start figuring out how much time is involved. So let's say each learning task is going to be 30 seconds, and they're going to rest for 60 seconds. And each recall task is going to be 45 seconds, and their rest period will still be 90. Okay, to do all of that, it's going to take them 456 minutes and 7.6 hours to learn the song. Okay, people go, wow, what a long time to sit there and go, well, hang on a minute, this is 7.6 hours for a lifetime knowledge of a song that they love. Okay, so the main point I want to show you here is that we can work out, the kind of learning time that's involved. I don't hesitate to say we can do that exactly, but we can give you a pretty good idea how long this would take, or how short this would take. So in this particular example, so if we're doing 30-minute tasks and 60-second rest breaks, it's basically taking 12 minutes a learning step to do. So now I've taken each of those steps, those 78 steps to learn their song, and many of those are going to take 12 minutes. So just to give you an idea of how long the other ones take, let's go and have a look. Okay, so the recalls should be shorter. Yep, they're 6 minutes. Okay, so the learning steps are 12 minutes and the recall ones are 6 minutes. The main point I want you to take out of this slide is that we can figure out fairly closely how long these things are going to take and how much work is required. And then when this is chunked down to a daily basis of 12 minutes and so on, then we can work out how long it'll take your child to learn that song. Then when you know that, you know better how you can support it. And so that's all I wanted to do for this particular video. In the next video, we're going to talk about how long will it take them to make it sound good. So thank you for watching, and talk to you soon.